I hope that all of you are doing good, inshallah, and that you are in the best state of your health as well. After this weekend, I also expect that you would have revised the previous lesson that we covered, which was related to the harakats, right? So, harakats, we learned that harakats are the three basic short vowel symbols in Arabic that are placed above or below the letter, right? And they make the sound of short a, u, and e. We learned those and we discussed these with the exercise and examples as well. And I also gave you this exercise that you see in front of you, that you were supposed to practice this exercise on your own as well, inshallah. So I expect that you might have done this as well, inshallah. So moving onwards with the next lesson, which is going to be session number 11 of this Qaida session. In this session, we are going to discuss the next topic, which is termed as tanween. So earlier we did the single leg harakas, right? The fatha, kasra, and dhamma. Today we are going to do the double harakats. Tanween actually means double harakas. This is also termed as neunation, right, in English, but mostly because we just use the Arabic terminologies all of the time, like most of the time. So that is why you must be familiar with this term, tanween, right? Neunation, you can just remember it. It's your choice as well. So inshallah, we will discuss this tanween. So tanween, you see in front of you these three symbols that you write. And tanween, I already mentioned that this is like double fatha, double kasra, and double dhamma. So at the first one, you see the double fathas, right? The two fathas, the two slanting lines above any letter. We also call these as fathatain. Fatha simply means fatha, that there are fathas, and I told you that these are two. So the tain here in the name suggests two, right? The tain means two. So fatha tain means two fathas. So we call this tanween of fathas as fathatain. The tanween of kasra is called as kasratain, the two slanting lines that you will see below the letter. And the tanween of dhamma is named as dhammatain, and yes, you will see these two symbols above the letter. Let's see these, and also, they make a sound of an, in, and un. What happens is that the tanween is always, it always comes at the end of the word, like the last alphabet of the word, right? So, for example, in these words here, you would see that the tanweens of fathatain, kasratain, and dhammatain are placed on the last alphabet of these words. So it will always be this case, okay? And also about tanween is that, the symbol of fatha made a sound of a. The fatha made a sound of a. But here the fathatain makes a sound of an. An at the end, okay? The fathatain, kasratain, and dhammatain, they always come at the end of the words and they make the sound of an, in, and un at the ends. Coming towards the example that I've written below is of kitaban. Kitaban. So here in this word at the end, there is tanween of fathatain, so I'm making a sound of an at the end, but because tanween is on the letter ba here, so I'm saying ban. Kitaban. In the next example, I'm saying kitabin. The in sound is at the end, along with the letter on which this kasratain, right, was placed. So we say kitabin, bin at the end. And in the last example, there is kitabun, ba letter at the end, and there is dhammatain tanween on it. So we say bun, kitabun. Okay, so this is going to be very simple thing, inshallah. You just have to remember that, just like you remember the way you remember the single harakas of fatha, kasra, and dhamma. Now you'll have to remember the harakas, which are like the double harakas, and their names are are changed from the like the at the end because of their because they have they become dual. So that is why tain is written at the end of all of these three names. Okay, let's move on. I told you that, just take any letter and place this tanween on it, right? Tanween of fatha, tanween of kasra, and tanween of dhamma. But what happens is that, in the previous example as well, you see that at the end of the kitaban, that was not exactly the ba that I wrote, right? Rather, in these cases, this was only ba, and on that we place these tanween of kasratain and dammatain. But in the case of the fathatain tanween, I haven't written the letter ba exactly, but along with that, I have written an alif with that as well. So we will inshallah see that, the reason for that as well. So what happens is that we just took the letter ba and we can just place the tanween on all of these, right? The tanween of fathatain, kasratain, and dhammatain. But what happens is that the two ways of this tanween and this tanween, they are correct. This is the correct way to write the kasratain and dhammatain. But for fathatain, we do not write it like this. Okay, we do not write it like this, but rather what we do is that we just place, attach an alif with that as well. So what happens is that the tanween of fathatain, and along with that there is going to be an alif that you will say. For now, I would just say is that, this, you just remember that this is the way of writing Arabic, okay? There are certain patterns, there are certain set of rules that we have to follow, because, that is how the writing of Arabic is done, and there isn't any sort of like proper, proper reason I would just be giving you here. So you will just have to remember that whenever there is going to be tanween, like the tanween of fathatain, you are always, in 99.9 cases, you are always going to see an alif attached to that after it. Okay, but that does not happen with the tanween of kasratain or dhammatain. So let's see the example. Let's take another letter, which is letter waw. So I said that for tanween of fathatain, after that you are going to see an alif as well. So in case of waw, obviously we cannot attach alif with waw letter. Okay, so that is why the alif is written separately after that. But when we write the waw with kasratain, there isn't any alif afterwards. Same is the case with dhammatain, that after the tanween of dhammatain, there isn't any alif. Okay, so let's take another letter, which is letter ha. So we again attach alif when we are writing the tanween of fathatain on ha. For kasratain and for dhammatain, there isn't going to be any alif attached with that. So for now, you are already familiar with this thing. But what happens is that I told you that in 99.9 cases, after the tanween of fathatain, we say alif. Okay, but there are obviously exceptions, just little exceptions, just like 1% of the exceptions you can say. So the one exception I am going to show is that with the round ta, that whenever there is going to be tanween of fathatain with the round ta at the end, right? We did the round ta as well, round ta at the end. After that, we are not going to see an alif like this. Okay, we are not supposed to write the word jannatan with an alif at the end, because that is an exception to this rule. Okay, the round ta. We will also see that what other letters, are exceptions sometimes. We will see that as we move forward, inshallah. So for today, our main topic is of tanween. So let's discuss the fathatain again with all of the Arabic alphabets, inshallah. Tanween of fathatain or tanween of two fathas. Let's see this one. So in front of you, you see on the slide all of the letters written with the tanween of fathatain. And if you just do the skimming and scanning of the slide in front of you, you should be noticing that I told you that in 99.9 cases, you will see an alif written after the letter in case of fathatain. So in all of these examples, you see an attached alif written as well. So let's do the first letter here, which is ba letter. And we're not writing this ba like this. Rather, there is an alif attached to this, and we say ban. The sound of, we will just articulate the sound of tanween, and we will just, ignore the alif that is written. Okay, so we just say ban. For the next letter, tan, than, jan, han, hun, dan, then, run, zen, Okay, so I just, did all of these, but I just want to mention here another thing. I mentioned about the certain exceptions as well, right? So for this dal letter, whenever this dal letter is going to have a tanween on it, you might see this tanween, written with the ya after it as well, right? I mentioned that in most of the cases there is an alif written, right? The general ruling is that. But the exception is that after the tanween of fathatain on dal letter, you might see a ya written here as well. Okay, so let me tell you the example as well. We just did the session of Ramadan right now, and in that session we did the 185 ayah of Surah Baqarah, right? The that was recited as well. So in that verse of 185, you see, if I'm not, incorrect about that, you saw the example of this word, hudan, hudan, right? In there, you saw that, there was this dal letter, and on top of that, there was tanween of fathatain. But after that, you saw this little ya, right? Not little ya, this proper ya. So as I mentioned that, you might see aleph written as well, but this is kind of an exception as well, that you might see this ya written as well at the end. Okay, so we will just see the example of this as well. For example, in this word then you will see in on the next slide as well. So this is written like this as well. Okay, so these are just the two exceptions that you see, but in all of the other cases, in most of the cases, you see there is just an alif written at the end. So let's move onwards with all of the other as well. Let's say this then. In these cases, we are obviously going to ignore the ya that is written, just the way we did with the aleph in the above examples as well. Okay, so the aleph and the ya, they when they come after this tanween, we just kind of ignore these. Okay, and we just articulate the sound of the tanween and say then, the un sound at the end. Okay, then, run, then, right? The za with this buzzing sound. Stan, shan, swan, swan, bun, pun, one, on, right? From the middle portion of the throat. On, on, right? And the next one is fun, fun. The heavy cough now. On, on. The next one is the light cough, and we say kan, lan, man, none, one. Okay, so for wow, we just cannot attach this alif with that, just the way we did with these letters as well. So we are going to just write it after the wow letter. Hun, an, an, yan. Also, I told you that, for the Hamza letter, for Hamza letter, we sometimes write this letter like this as well. That hamza is placed like a small hamza is placed on the symbol of aleph, and then there is the tanween written. Okay, so you can say that the hamza letter, after that there is a aleph as well, or it's just written separately sometimes as well. Okay, in all of the other cases, you will see the aleph, right? Let's just summarize this one more time, that in most of the cases you will see the aleph that is written after the tanween of fathatain, but there are just little exceptions. From those exceptions, the one is the round ta when it comes at the end of the words, right? And there is the tanween of fathatain. So after that, we will not see the aleph. And the exception can be this dal as well, with the tanween of fathatain, that you might see a ya written, and same is the case with the letter, that you will see a ya written after that. And you'll have to look for the hamza as well sometimes, that you might not find the aleph written here. Okay, you might not see aleph written here after that. And sometimes you might do that as well in this case when it's written like this, inshallah. So moving onwards with the examples here, yeah, right, we'll just do a few of these examples, and we'll inshallah move to the kasratain for today as well. So the example here, with the words now, an exercise for you as well. The first one written here is baqaratan. Baqaratan. In this word, I told you that tanween is always going to come at the end of the words, right? On the last letter of the words, on the last alphabet. So, in all of the examples that you see in front of you, the tanween comes at the end. So, in baqaratan as well, the tanween is at the end on the round ta letter, right? And yes, the round ta is an exception, I just told you. And after the round ta, you will not see an alif written. Okay, so just the way we did with the jannatan, right? So in the next example, ajaban, ajaban. At the end, there is a ba letter with the tanween. We'll just ignore the alif because that is the way this is written. So we will just say ajaban, ban, the tanween on the letter ba, so we say ban. The next is abathan, abathan, harajan, jan at the end, jim with a fathatain on it, jan, marahan, han, the ha letter with tanween, han. The next one is ahadan, rashadan, Roshadan. So yes, I told you that, sometimes you see that dal letter and on top of that you see a fathatain, but after that what do you see here is an alif. In the previous example, what we saw, in the example of hudan, in the example of hudan, after the tanween of fathatain on dal, we saw a ya written, but here we see an alif as well, right? So this would happen with the dal letter. The next example is adhan. Adhan. Okay, so in this case, I told you that after the dha letter, the fathatain, we might see a ya written as well sometimes. Okay, so that is another example repeated here. Let's just move quickly. Basharan, bataran, harasan, qasasan, maradan, wasatan, shatatan, تبعا أسفا طبقا ملكا عملا سلاما حسنا ثمنا سفها خطأ خطأ. I told you about this as well, that when we did the the way we write Hamza sometimes, right? We did the like 5 to 6 ways how Hamza is written. So here you see that Hamza is written. After that, you see an Aleph here as well. All right, you might see Hamza written like this as well at places. Okay, so this is just a way of writing Hamza. So let's move on to the next tanween, which is tanween of kasratain, the tanween of like the tanween of two kasras, the two slanting lines that are placed below the letter and makes a sound of in. Okay, so you see all of these letters, inshallah, they are going to be easy because you're already familiar with these shapes that you see. So let's do just these quickly, inshallah. So ba letter with kasratain, with the tanween of kasra, we say bin, bin, the in sound attached of kasratain, bin. The next one is thin, thin, jin, hin, hin, right? This ha letter from the middle portion of the throat and makes an airy sound, and we say hin. The next one, scratch in this khin, khin. The next is din, din. The soft one, din, rin, zin, zin, sin, shin, slin, slin. Okay, so this is going to be heavy, slin. Although you see that sin written, that is exactly not the same sound. Okay, so we say sli, slin, din, din. Again, a heavy sound of letter dad. Din. Again a heavy letter, ta letter, and we say tin, tin, lin, lin, rain, rain. From the middle portion of the throat, okay, you will specifically have to practice this rain with kasratain and this ha with kasratain as well, okay? Rain, rain, fin, qin, kin. This was a heavy one, qin, and this is a light one, kin, lin, min, nin, win for vowel, shaping your lips round and saying win, hin, in, in. The same sounds here because both are hamzas here, okay? In and yin, yin. So all of these examples, you just, what you just do is that take the sound of the letter, the ba letter, ta letter, tha letter, and you just attach the sound of in at the end of, all of these kasratain examples, okay? So you see in written at the end of all of these because they have kasratain below them. So let's do these examples now in the words as well. Okay, so these are the words you see in front of you. The first one here is Aina bin, Aina bin, Aina bin. Okay, also we are not supposed to stretch the sounds and we just don't say Aina bin, bin, and the bin should not be prolonged. Okay, Aina bin, just like the harakas of like a few seconds. Aina bin. Okay, and also again, you see that the kasratain is again, placed at the end of the words here on the last letters. So, bin, bin, غضب رقبة رقبة نفقة عوج. Okay, also you see that, we saw the alif written after the tanween of fathatain. So in this tanween of kasratain, you will not find any alif written in these examples. Just in one case, you might see an alif, but that is not because of the rule. That is just the way we write Hamza sometimes. Okay, we'll just see that as well. So the next one here is harajin, harajin, bi'akhin, kabadin, din at the end, din. Okay, again, you don't find any ya or alif written after the tanween, like the kasratain tanween of dal here, right? No alif, no ya here. Ahadin, ahadin, biqadarin, zakarin, qabasin, bisakhatin, khatin. Okay, although this is an exercise focusing on the tanween of kasratain here, but still you will have to see the letters as well because sometimes the letters are heavy, sometimes light, so you have to practice those things, those qualities of letters and articulation side by sides with these examples. So in this word bisakhatin, the first two letters of ba and sin are light letters here, so we just say bisa, bisa, and the next two are heavy letters, so we have to make the voice heavy by raising the back part of the tongue, and we say kha, kha, and ti, tin, bisakhatin. We're not supposed to say bisakhatin, right? So the first two are light, the second two are heavy. Bisakhatin, bisakhatin, alaqin, qin, qaf heavy letter with the tanween of kasratain. قن علق ملك فلك عمل مثل بدم بثمن حسن سبأ. Here in this example at the end there is this like the tanween play, tanween of kasratain below the hamza letter, and you see an alif here as well, but that alif is not because of the reason the way we did the fathatain tanween. This alif is just here because I told you sometimes we write the hamza like this as well. by this by placing the hamza below this symbol of alif. So that actually is a hamza and not alif. Altogether, this is a hamza and not an alif. So this is saba'in, binaba'in, same here, binaba'in, hama'in, hama'in, hami'atin, hami'atin. Okay, so that was an exercise with the kasratain. Let's move on to the last one, which is the tanween of dhammatain, tanween of two dhammas, right? So let's move on with this as well. So the first letter is ba, and you see the two dhammas on it. Okay, the two dhammas symbol on it, and it makes a sound of un. So here, because that is on the letter ba, so we say bun. Okay, so the next one is thun, jun, hun. Okay, hun, not hun, not from the lower portion of the throat, but rather from the middle one, and we say hun, hun, and hun, dun, zun, run, zun, sun, shun, sun, a heavy sound. This was a light one. This is a heavy sun. The next one is dun, dun. The next one again, a heavy one. So we say pun. This was a light one and this is a heavy one. This was just tun and this is like a pun. I told you that for making a heavy sound on this letter, tip of the tongue touches the back of your upper teeth with strength, right? So the strength is very important, and the back part of the tongue is supposed to be raised when saying pu, tun, po letter, tun, vun, vun, again a heavy letter. This was a light one, zun, and this is vun, vun. Okay, so this is un, un, un from the middle portion of the throat, and gun, fun, qun, qun, a heavy cough, qun. The next one is light cough, kun, lam, lun, mim, mun, noon, nun, wow, and wun. Ha letter, hun. Hamza letters, un, and ya letters, yun. So yes, these were all the examples of the letters with the tanween of dhammatain. Let's see the examples, the exercise as well. Okay, so the first row is naswabun, naswabun. In this swad letter is a heavy one here. Saw. Naswabun. At the end, you will see a tanween on letter ba. So we say bun. Naswabun, khushubun, khushubun, baqaratun, qataratun, qataratun, qataratun. The first letter is heavy here. The second is light. The third is a heavy ra with a fatha on it. And the last one is a light one again. So a heavy, then transition to the light, and then heavy, and then to light. You're not supposed to worry about these things at this point. I'm just telling you for the sake of, just information for now. So qataratun, qataratun, harajun, akhun, ahadun, zabadun, humurun, sururun, qatarun, maradun, maradun. The two heavy letters at the end. So maradun, maradun, aradun, aradun. قطع قطع. The first two letters are heavy. The last one is a letter of throat from the middle portion. So we say قي قي and طا. قطع عن at the end. قطع بيع غرف خلق ملك رسل نزول قسام قدم أذون سكن ظمأ ظا. Tip of the tongue touches the tip of your upper teeth and you say dha, and back part of the tongue is raised for this letter because this is a heavy letter. So we say dhama'un, dhama'un. Okay, so this was just an exercise with the tanween of dhammatain. And yes, we will be seeing the tanweens at the end of the words. Okay, on the last letter of the words, inshallah. So that was it for today's session that we have discussed the tanween. And if you have any query regarding this lesson, you can inshallah ask me right now, and then we will inshallah end this session.